Hi lovelies, and today's recipe is actually going to be a quick one. I know I waffle, but this is going to be so super speedy. You'll be done in an ad break. So it's my meatloaf, Lissy's meatloaf. Meatloaf normally does a bit of a bad rep of being quite boring, but I don't like boring food, but I do like easy food and tasty food. So this hopefully should cover all bases. The first thing I've got in here is mince, 750 grams. You can put in whatever kind you like. This is steak mince and it's 5% fat. If you have a fattier cut of mince, you will need halfway through cooking just to pour off carefully, because it'll be hot fat, pour off some of the fat while keeping the meatloaf carefully in its place with a wooden spoon or something like that, because there may be a little bit too much fat in. But for 5%, I wouldn't bother doing that because it does keep the meat tender and it's really not as fatty as you would think. So for this, it's very simple. It is literally a case of bunging in all the ingredients and mushing it up. I've got these sexy gloves on because I don't really like the feel of it all. But, you know, there's nothing wrong with getting your hands dirty and getting there if that's what you want. But I'm just wearing these just for ease. So it literally is a case, I mean, I've got here, it says wine. Now, if you haven't got wine, you can pop in a bit of vinegar. It basically just needs something sort of acidic to, it just gives it, it takes away some of the raw flavour that you might get sometimes in these things. This is my own homemade plum wine. So just before I start, I think it's only right that I should just taste it. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay, so I have given you actual ingredients. I've written it all down, but because I've made this those times, I'm just going to slosh it in as I do when I'm cooking. But the amounts I've given you are correct, so you can't go wrong with those. For me, I've always made this as a bit of a kind of, let's just dump it in and see. But as I said, I've been making this cheese. I've made a right mess of it already. I've only had a sip of wine, honest. So we've got all the ingredients: ketchup, the Lea Perrins. Oh, and this is another thing. Lea Perrins is something I've always got in my cupboard. It's a really good staple for any food, from spaghetti bologneses to chicken stews to roasts if need be. So I always have that there, and it lasts for ages. It's always good to have a bit of a slosh. Breadcrumbs, made my own, stale bread, whizzed up in the food processor. You can do the same by grating it with a cheese grater. Be very careful of those knuckles. Or just smashing it to bits, really, if it's really that stale. If it's not stale enough, pop it in the oven on a low heat for about an hour or so, and it should really dry out, but keep checking it, don't burn it, because we don't want carbon, we want crumbs. So that just goes in there like that. And now, the veggies in here, I've chopped them up really finely because I just like the texture of the meatloaf to be, when I slice it, to be a really lovely slice. If you have chunky veg and you go to slice it, sometimes the veg gets caught on the knife if it's not sharp enough, etc. But it is your choice. I've got green peppers, if you want red peppers, or Scotch bonnets or whatever you fancy. Just don't put in this amount of Scotch bonnets because it will just be like fire. But again, if you don't like peppers, leave peppers out. If you prefer to have, you can do it with courgette, although that is quite a watery vegetable, so you'll get a lot more moisture in there. Butternut squash chopped up, bits of potato, beans, anything really. You can not go with baked beans because that will take away the flavour, but chickpeas, butter beans, lentils if you want to, but make sure they're cooked beforehand or tinned. And they will just help to bulk it out as well. Again, I've put a red onion because that's all we actually had. Normally put a brown onion in, but we only had red. So red goes in. All finely chopped by the lovely Simon again. And herbs again. Thank God I caught that. Again, it says on the recipe how many to put in. So don't be alarmed by my willy-nilly abandon. So that's that there. And stock cube, 3 of those. It sounds a lot, but it really does need the seasoning with all the extra bits you put in. I've used 3 good old OXO ones, which I've squeezed up before I've burst open, so I can get an even distribution. If you have stock that is not like this, that's not dry, that you can't turn into powder, just dissolve it in a tiny bit of hot water, boiling water from the kettle if possible. Mix it up until it's a paste, then just chuck the paste in. Honestly, it'll be absolutely fine. So that goes in, and then 2 eggs just to bind it all. I put in everything. Did I put the wine in? Yes. I have to just do this before I start. Oh, that's so good. Right, so just get in there, and that's it. You just go in there, squeeze away. You can imagine it's the brains of someone you hate if you want to be that macabre. Or you could just have a little relaxing hand massage and try not to think about what you're doing. But yeah, so it needs to be really well distributed. Just give it a good old squeeze, mix it all in. And be very careful. I would always suggest, when you're using the minced meat, whatever one you decide to use, be it steak or lamb or chicken or venison or whatever, although I really must say the steak one, really, this steak mince or beef mince is my absolute favourite, which is why that's the recipe I have given. But obviously it's personal preference. But you really need to make sure it's well mixed in. The last thing you want is someone to get a lump of seasoning or, you know, a chunk of bread. As I said, with the breadcrumbs, they don't have to be perfect. They get absorbed into everything anyway. They'll all disappear. And that is pretty much it. There's a little bit there that needs to be mixed in. So there we are. There we have it. That wasn't technical, was it? So, high tin. I have here a £2 bread loaf tin thing. And you literally, oops, just put it in there. Probably not all in one go, apparently. There we go. I have lined it, even though this is actually quite a really good non-stick tin, but I've lined it just to be on the safe side. Now it looks huge, but it actually shrinks. So this won't be like a loaf of bread falling over the top and scaring you in the oven by looking like it's becoming sentient. This is just going to cook away and shrink down. Now, just to be warned, because it does let off juices, I'm going to be putting this on a baking tray. A lined baking tray in the oven, so that if the juices do come out, my oven won't get destroyed. And that's pretty much it. It's really simple. And as I said, just pop it in the oven as per the ingredients in the comments for around an hour. Check it and make sure it's thoroughly cooked all the way through. When you take it out, which I will show you what it looks like when it comes out, I would suggest leaving it for about 10 to 15 minutes before you carve it, because when it's hot it's still going to be a bit crumbly. So leave it in the tin, then take it out and say let it sit there for 10 minutes and then carve it with a really good knife. Also, if you don't have a loaf tin, this will cook as a big ball, like a big sausage on a baking tray, although you'll have to just sort of keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't burn too much. But it cooks absolutely fine with that one. I just like it in a loaf tin, because when we have it for our meal, it's like just a slice of it, and then the next day with what's left over, I slice it up, heat it in the microwave for a little bit, and then pop it in a burger. And it's basically like having a burger as well. And the kids think it's fantastic because they had meatloaf the night before, and then they think they're getting something completely different the next day for lunch, which is brill. Anything that saves a bit of time is fab. And that's it. So I'm going to pass this over to Simon, and he will put that in the oven, and I will see you when it's done. Bye-bye. It has now been an hour. Thank you, Alexa, for telling us. And the meatloaf is out of the oven. Absolutely perfect. It's just beautifully browned on the top. Smells amazing. I wish you could smell it. It's just so gorgeous. And now all you need to do is to take this out, pop it on a plate, and serve it as dinner, or slice it up with burger buns, or crumble it on a salad, or, as I said, however you fancy it. Meatloaf is actually really flexible, and this one is gorgeous. It's just got so much flavour, and it's just so delicious. and as you saw, so easy to make. So if you had any little extra exciting bits, let me know. If you had any issues, let me know, and I'll see if I can help. And of course, I love seeing photos of anybody who's done any of my makes and bakes, so please do photograph them and pop your pictures on social media for me so I can revel in your meatloafy glory. Thanks for watching. See you soon.